Yes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Alley Talk here on Philly Sports Network. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on X or any of the other social networks where we reside, thank you. Welcome once again. The Friday edition, our weekly show all season long, brought to you by myself, Kyle Fisher, with a cavalcade of co-hosts. And because we are getting ready for the postseason, of course, we had to bring out a few legends from the Phillies team over at PSN. Guy who's been with me the last few weeks, Alec Costival. Some of our best episodes of the season as far as views are concerned have been when Alec is on. And he's not even a hot take guy. Just we love Alec's energy and we love his presence. Good dude to have on the show. And Ben was with us around the trade deadline. Some incredible insight that Ben has brought over the time. He went back to school, so hasn't been writing as much if you've been looking for his name. But good stuff all season long from Ben, and we're happy to have him back now that we are ready for the postseason. Fellas, how are we feeling on this awesome Friday, the day before the NLDS gets started here in Philadelphia?
Oh, man, I'm feeling great. And much like the Phillies needed their bye week, I needed my bye month, and I'm ready and to come out firing, much like Christopher Sanchez going to come out firing on Saturday against the Dodgers. I'm too many emotions are flowing through my body right now to be able to properly put them into words. I don't know whether my head's going to explode or perhaps I'll implode. I guess it's just how many hours we got until first pitch on Saturday?
28 and a half hours.
28 and a half. See, there's a reason I do journalism and not math. Thank you, guys.
Gotcha.
Alec, how are you
feeling, dude? I'm feeling great. I mean, the Phillies just had 30,000 plus fans at an inner squad game. And
not talking about
bringing the energy going into this postseason is noticeably different from 2023 and 2024. 2023 and 2024 was like, well, we didn't get it done you got to keep getting going, and this is our year. But like, there was a level of stress underlying 2023 and 2024 that I'm not feeling in 2025. So there is a much different energy heading into this postseason, and I think everybody's just a little bit more comfortable.
I'm going to take a little bit of issue with that, Alec. I'll be honest, I am more stressed than I've ever been, but it's a completely different kind of stress. Last year, I'm thinking, I don't think the Phillies are legit, but anybody knows it's anybody's game. They had 95 wins last year. This year, I think that everyone has agreed that this is a better team, but they have a lot tougher road to the World Series this year. And I think that the players kind of feel this way, and maybe the fans do to an extent as well, that this might sort of be the last ride for this core Bader's new this year, but him and Schwarber and JT and Ranger Suarez all on contract years of their deals. And with 2023, that still kind of felt a little bit like house money to me. I'm definitely more stressed now than I was then, but it's odd. It's been a really different feeling going into the postseason every year for me the past 4 years. And, in that 07 to 11 run, I felt the same every year. And perhaps that's just because they got the World Series championship out of the way so quickly. But I don't know.
Perhaps we were all so young at the time that we were just like, they'll win it. Yeah.
Yeah, we were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed back then. I don't know.
I don't want to hear it from you.
I was a fresh-faced 9-year-old when the Phillies won the World Series.
When they won the World Series, I was 12.
Oh, man.
I
remember it very well.
18.
First time I ever had to cry.
Was your kid born yet?
My kid, whose name is Chase Ryan Fisher, by the way.
Oh, my God.
was born in 2007. Christ. All I'm saying, he was born in April of 07, and they made it back to the playoffs and won the World Series the next year.
He probably did that. It's probably his doing, right?
It works.
Anyway, no, Ben, I'm disagreeing with you in this point. I will be stressed during first pitch tomorrow night, but right now, just like what Roddyzad is saying right now, you'll feel that stress an hour before the game. I'll feel it first pitch, every pitch after. And because just like me, just like everyone else who cheers for this team, you live and die with every pitch in the postseason. It is a whole different ball game. During the regular season, you can kind of half pay attention at times. Not us, like if we're in the press box, of course. But if you're at home, you don't have to zone in on every single thing that's happening. Postseason, it is pitch by pitch. But heading into this, I think the Phillies are set up, and I think they have the right mindset. I think things could go well for this team, but boy, do they have a monumental matchup in the NLDS.
Alec, man, go ahead, Ben.
I think that for both teams, this is kind of their World Series. And for the Dodgers, I forget who already said it. It might have been Dave Roberts even, who mentioned that this kind of feels the Dodgers are treating this like their World Series. Both teams, I think, know that this will be their hardest matchup. And the thing that actually concerns me, and I'm getting, about 15 steps ahead of myself here, I'm a little bit worried about a potential letdown if the Phillies do win this World Series. See what I'm doing to myself? If the Phillies do win this division series, they're going to have to get that energy back up for the Brewers after, facing a really tough team. And then after the Brewers, they got to get it back up for an even weaker team. And I know I'm going 15,
jumping
20,
so far.
Yeah, Ben, I hate that mindset. I hate it too.
Mindset. I hate it too. I'm just saying.
Playoffs where my mind goes. Every round means more. I don't think there's going to be any problem getting yourself jacked up.
If the Dodgers want to think of this as their World Series, let them. Because that's how you fail. That's how you run out of juice. This Phillies team has one mission. It's to win a ring. And they have to get through their toughest opponent first. Yes. But that does not make it a World Series. I think if they win this, it's a downhill of the roller coaster right through a World Series championship, because I think this is going to give them the juice to keep going, no matter who they face. But I think we all are getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, I mean, Dodgers. If the juices aren't flowing for facing the Dodgers and potentially beating the Dodgers, I know they're not defending if you're an Eagles fan, but the reigning World Series champions, the guys who have won 2 of the last 4 or 5, I guess, because the 2020 would count as
6,
year 1,
right?
So they've
5.
won 2 of the last 5. They have the best player on the planet who's going to both lead off the game and get on the mound tonight. I mean, it is easily the most star-studded matchup in the playoffs, Ben. So let me run you down for a second. Here's what the Dodgers are bringing to the field against the Phillies in the next 3 to 5 games. 6 MVP awards, 7 Gold Gloves, 18 Silver Sluggers, 5 Cy Young Awards, and also with the Japanese contingent, they have 4 Japanese MVPs and 3 Sawamura Awards, which is their Cy Young equivalent for best pitcher in the league. Now, granted, 3 of those MVPs and all 3 Sawamura Awards were won back-to-back-to-back years by Yamamoto, but an incredible list of awards. On the flip side, Phillies, they have a ton of stars. Everybody knows who Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto and Nick Castellanos are. But in comparison, they have 2 MVP awards, both from Harper, 2 Gold Gloves, both from JT, 10 Silver Sluggers, no Cy Young Awards, and the only guy who could have potentially won one to this point won't be pitching for them. It is a pretty stark reminder that you are playing against the elite of the elite teams. Oh, yeah, and let's not forget they have a World Series trophy from just a year ago. So it is the premier matchup. I mean, it might get better ratings than the World Series depending on what the matchup is, but it is by far nobody's World Series because we're just at the start of this thing for both teams still.
And I think a big X factor for Ohtani as well is, can he handle that, playoff environment? Because he's never pitched in the postseason. He had his, big moments at the plate last year. And if I remember correctly, he went real quiet in the World Series. Can he handle being on the mound with that added pressure? The Phillies saw him 2 weeks ago and they did get shut down, but they have now seen him. They know what they're going up against. And the thing is, I'm not sure Shohei does. And don't get me wrong, maybe he does. He just hasn't proven it on the mound yet when the lights are brightest.
That is something to watch. He is a newbie when it comes to pitching in the playoffs. He did hit, obviously, in the playoffs last year. He hit 243 with a 376 on base and a 471 slug. So still Overall, maybe not what you would expect from Ohtani numbers, but still very strong. The guy hit 2 homers in the first round this year. I think he hit 230 last season, 243 if you include the beginning of this season so far with those 2 homers. So he will be stepping on the mound for the first time. Obviously, coming back from injury, he didn't pitch at all last season. He has been building up, and Dave Roberts has already said that they're going to let him go. So, Ben, I will toss it to you in a minute, but just so we can kind of get into it, we'll do a more formal breakdown of the series itself in a moment. But Shohei will be on the mound tomorrow night in South Philadelphia for the Dodgers, facing off against Chris Sanchez as the 3rd starting pitcher for the Dodgers. And again, it'll be his first time. He played for the Angels for so long. We all know the storyline that they never made the playoffs despite having the 2 best players in the world. And he showed out offensively last season. We'll see what he can do on the mound tonight. And Ben, I'll let you continue with your point.
No, all I was going to add was that Shohei Ohtani had a 105 batting average in the World Series last year. I mean, it's not like he was benched either. Played 5 games, 23 plate appearances. The dude went cold when the lights were brightest. And I think small sample size, it's the postseason. I don't think that makes him a bad player or someone you don't have to watch out for. But I do think it's interesting that he has some sort of track record of slumping when the lights are brightest. And I'm actually not all that concerned about Shohei, the hitter, right now. I'm much more concerned about Shohei, the pitcher, after what he did to the Phillies lineup in LA last week. But I'm hoping that, he will be affected by the Citizens Bank Park environment.
He most certainly will be, because nobody's ever prepared to enter Citizens Bank Park, whether they're a pitcher, whether they're a hitter, in the postseason. You can try, but ultimately it is a struggle, and sometimes teams do find success. I do think that I'm kind of the camp that I'm hoping Shohei Ohtani gets a little overconfident on the mound. Yeah, you mentioned that he held the Phillies for 5 no-hit innings, only allowed a walk in LA. But that was a hangover game. That was the day after the Phillies clinched the NL East. These guys were not at their sharpest, but they all wanted to play to see Shohei on the mound. Because obviously, there's no better way to scout out a guy than to see what he's got in person. So hopefully he still has those 5 no-hit innings in his mind, and he thinks he's going to do it again. But the Phillies are going to be more prepared than ever for him. Mm-hmm. You don't think that they've been on their pitching machines that literally copy his fastball movement, his off-speed movement, and they're not ramping up those machines to like 103 miles an hour in order to get ahead of Shohei? I'm sure they've been prepping this all week. They're more prepared for Shohei Ohtani now than they ever have in the regular season.
I was very surprised to see the Dodgers pitch Shohei against the Phillies, knowing that at some point these teams are likely to converge with each other in the playoffs, that on paper, at the very least, the Phillies are the toughest challenge for the Dodgers, at least in the National League. And he had never pitched against these Phillies before in his career. And he goes out there. Yes, it was an incredible outing, but he's never pitched against them. And a couple weeks in front of the postseason, you give the Phillies a preview. I was very, very surprised by that from Dave Roberts, because he's usually a guy who thinks that far ahead. At the same time, you want to get your guy work, and I understand that. But I don't think that there's any overconfidence in anywhere in Shohei Ohtani's body. That guy, I think it was on the Baseball Tonight podcast. They said a lot of guys walk out there with the attitude of like, I need to be the best when I'm on the field and need to hype themselves up. They described Shohei as he feels it is his, not his privilege, his responsibility to be the best player on the field every single time he steps on it. Like, from a young age, this guy was built for these moments. And yeah, he hasn't been in a postseason crowd quite like Citizens Bank Park. But it's not the end-all, be-all. We saw some big losses from these Phillies in front of this home crowd in the postseason the last couple of years. No hit against the Dodgers. Lost 2 in a row against Arizona. They did win one, but lost another against the Mets. The home field advantage is a real thing until it's not, right? It's a matter of the Phillies continuing to pick it up on the field, but that's not what we're talking about. We wanted to talk about what the impact on the visitor is. And Ben, I know you had a little bit about the impact on the visitor, a little fun topic before we get into the formal breakdown. So Ben, what did you hear? You were telling us a little bit before the show, but tell us what you are feeling or what you're thinking might help push that home field advantage and that Philadelphia Phillies crowd a little over the line and really get to those Dodgers.
So I'm picturing second inning. Ohtani walks, say, Max Kepler and Brandon Marsh, and Bryson Stott's at the plate. He's fouled off maybe, 7 or 8 pitches, and you're thinking, wow, he's getting deep into that at-bat. Might look to turn the lineup over, get Trey and Schwarber and Bryce to the plate this inning with a few guys on base. And the Phillies crowd is thinking, I remember a few years ago when we all started chanting Strider, Strider, and the place gets louder and louder and louder, and Stott hits that 2-run double, and Hoskins has the bat slam, and they change pitchers, and Harper comes in and blasts one off into right field. And, obviously I expect to hear a lot of Shohei on Saturday once, that ball gets rolling. Couple fun little things as well. I expect the Philly crowd to be inventive. We do very well, whenever the Phillies play the Braves, with the chop every year and, stealing some chants from other teams. Hat tip to the High Hopes podcast. They had, "Where's your bookie?" Pretty good one. I'm thinking as well, maybe, "How's your parlay?" or "Where is Ipe?" Get in the guy's head a little bit, mess with his psyche, because that's the thing.
Just a straight Ipe chant, Mike.
I was gonna say, what about
that would be really good.
Over and over again? I'd be a little rattled at that. Although I just got rattled by loud noises, so maybe I'm not the best person.
I mean, he might not be listening to, "Where's your bookie?" or "How's your parlay?" That could be hard to make up. English obviously isn't his first language. But if you just start
just straight Ipe,
he can't ignore that. He can't ignore it. I'm just saying.
I don't hate it.
The guy's going to get rattled.
I can't comment too much on crowd chants, but I feel like an Ipe chant out of any, I feel like would have a chance to rattle Shohei.
Oh, yeah. No, if there's any one thing, Alec, that's a sharp mind right there. I'm a big fan of that one.
I like that one. Any other? The Ipe one was my first instinct. And look, I hate to talk about that stuff. I like to believe what I've been told, that he wasn't involved in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to take it on its face. But this is a fun thing. So if you got any other ones, Ben or Alec, let's keep it rolling.
I just went through my list there.
I personally don't have any. That's not.
Alec, give yourself some credit. Just Ipe alone is, I think that's the gold standard.
You got to go simple.
Right?
Just like in European football, like sometimes you just got to go simple with these chants. Or like it's a common tune everybody can, follow along, and you just change one word or something. It's so easy. Yeah. Like our boss here at Philly Sports Network, Liam Jenkins, will tell you, all those chants, they're nothing complicated. Just everybody's in sync with it. So if everybody can get in sync with an Ipe chant, ooh.
Real quick before we get to previews, and I think the Ipe chant would be cool. 2 quick comments on chants and sing songs. I wish we were as creative as the European crowds. I'm tired of like the 3 chants that America has.
Phillies is a little tired.
We have bah, 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 or da 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 da. That's all we have, right? We have the 3 things. Yeah, I want to hear like full songs created about these people.
Oh, I would love
if we want to be on that level.
We got to get Liam and Phillies Dave, UK Phillies.
Shohei has a parlay. He certainly hope it hits. Shohei has a parlay. It's probably gonna be shit.
Beautiful, Alec.
That's better than whatever we could do. And the other thing I want to see the Citizens Bank crowd do during one of these next 2 games, if the entrance of Joan Duran is played, I want to hear 44,000 people with the worst Philly and Delco accents singing in Spanish his entrance music. I don't think it's going to happen.
No,
I think that would be more intimidating than anything else you could do as a fan base. Is that dude walks up, that's intimidating enough? And then you have 44,000 mostly white people singing a Spanish song at you. Like, it's just, it's over. It's over. For me, it's like, Chris Long talked about when everybody was singing Meek Mill before the 2017 NFC Championship game. He was like, we were so hyped. He's like, the black players on the team were looking around at the crowd like, I can't believe this many white people are singing this song about murder. Like, this is insane. And anybody could have gotten it that night. So that would be a really fun thing to see Phillies fans do.
So, I mean, if they do win this series, Garrett Stubbs did tease that that's when we would hear the updated playlist. So that's kind of the teaser for, well, maybe there is an anthem heading into an NLCS or a World Series, but that's getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes, of course.
Can I just say, if and when the Phillies do win the World Series and they break out Dancing on My Own again for the first time in however many years, I'm gonna weep. I'm gonna absolutely be bald. I am not. I just like the thought of that is making me like a little bit choked up because I think we're past that Dancing on My Own, and I love that song and it has so many fond memories for me. And I like that it's not a thing, but they will play that in the clubhouse if they win the World Series.
Yeah, I think it's on the playlist. It's just a matter of, is it the anthem? Is it the one that goes viral like it was that first?
I'm over it, to be honest.
I still love it.
I've been over Dance on Your Own. Listen, even when we started Dance on Your Own, I was listening to the original version, the Robin.
The original is better.
I prefer that infinitely better than the Callum Scott version. That's just how I feel. I think it sounds way better, but I'm kind of way over it. I want something more. Like, there was a tease from somebody saying that the Phillies were blasting the Numa Numa song in the clubhouse a couple weeks ago. I would love to bring back 2007 and just be like, just bring back the Numa Numa guy.
Yeah. Oh my God. No.
Game 1 World Series Numa Numa guy.
First pitch, right? Just give me. Yeah. Right. It's like he's our version of Timmy Trumpet. Yeah.
Also, for the first pitch of this NLDS, it has to be Matt Stairs, right?
I believe they already announced it's going to be Mike Schmidt.
Oh, they did announce it already?
Yeah.
Schmitty?
People thought Stairs. People thought Wheeler. I thought that would be a good one.
It should be Stairs, though.
They got They got 1 or 2 other games. We'll see who throws it out.
I don't think that they're going to bring back Stairs. As much as I would like to see that, it feels like the stars don't align for that.
I feel like if you just get him a plane ticket and a hotel room, he'll be there.
Maybe not even a hotel room, just a couple beers. He'll show up, whatever.
Yeah, Stairs.
I bet that guy can put a few back.
Get him the 999. He'll be fine.
Oh yeah.
He would sneeze at what the Phillies' excuse for the 999 challenges. Are you kidding? That dude's doing like the 18-9-18.
He would hold it with him out there while he threw the first pitch.
If that 999 challenge actually is $55, that's not that bad though.
No, it's really not.
4.5 dogs and I'm assuming like 45 ounces of beer.
Yeah, like that's three beers and 4.5 dogs in a ball game. Like,
yeah, for a ball game,
That's not the. I mean, it's all gonna be warm by the time you actually get it, and I bet the line.
You said the beer's making it past the 3rd inning.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point.
The dogs
you're gonna have warm and cold at some point, right? It's just a matter of which one do you want to be warm and which one do you want to be cold. You're constantly gonna have the right temperature, just on the wrong product. That's what's gonna happen. But we talked a little bit about what the fans can do in the crowd to keep that home field advantage. But the most important thing, as we talked about with their history of losing a few big games in Philly these last couple of years, is going to be that the players perform. And ultimately, we know what was asked of them in the offseason. Trea Turner was asked to change his game. The entire team was asked to be more patient, more selective. They had to figure out what that meant for each individual player. Nick Castellanos had the best walk rate and lowest K rate of his Phillies career and of every year except for the year where he got MVP votes to start the first 3 months, and it changed. These guys evolved. Max Kepler went from DFA to really good. The addition of Harrison Bader really changed the lineup and changed everything that they could do when it comes to the offensive side of the ball and defensively. Ultimately, the players have to play. right? And that's what matters. And you're talking about probably the two most complete rosters in the field, at least when it comes to known names. I would say that the Brewers are probably up there with them as well, but not everybody knows everybody donning a Milwaukee uniform. But let's get into kind of how these teams match up on paper, because we know the star-studded names, but people may not know every single pitcher in the bullpen or how the Dodgers have been doing because they see the record and they don't like to stay up late for those West Coast games. So we've talked all season about how the Phillies starting pitching has carried them to this point. We know about the loss of Zach Wheeler, but Chris Sanchez stepped up in a big way, will likely finish second in the Cy Young voting if things play out the way that they should in the National League. And he's going to start things off for them, followed by two other lefties in Jesus Luzardo, a huge offseason pickup, and, of course, the ever-steady Ranger Suarez. Those will be the three guys on the mound for the Phillies. The Dodgers, on the other hand, we talked about Shohei Ohtani and how he's built himself back up and how he's built for the moment, both physically and mentally. But then they're going to be able to get their two studs that they pitched already back. So they will have the multi-time Cy Young Award winner and Blake Snell going. And then who is it? Who's the third pitcher that I'm forgetting for some reason? Yamamoto will obviously, yes. Yamamoto will go. And then also break glass in case of emergency. They have one of the greatest performers of all time in Clayton Kershaw and an amazing arm in Tyler Glasnow. So they have huge names on that starting pitching.
Don't forget about Emmett Sheehan too. Emmett Sheehan was excellent this year.
So just taking a start at the starting pitchers, we know who will start. We know who will be coming out of the bullpen for each team. Who do you think has the advantage as far as starting pitching is concerned?
As far as who has the advantage with the starters, I think you have to give an edge to the Dodgers, unfortunately. Because the Phillies are running out with Chris Sanchez, who it has been excellent all season. And don't get me wrong, but he has never been the number one guy. He's never had to take the ace mantle and run with it. They also don't have Nola acting like a number two starter. He will probably be game 4 starter in an NLCS if needed. But at the same time, then you run into Ranger Suarez, who has great postseason numbers and usually is a bulldog on the mound. You don't have too much worry there. But then Jesus Luzardo, who was, again, excellent outside of 2 blow-up games in the middle of the season in a row. If you take that away, I'm pretty sure his ERA probably sits closer to like a 3.1.
It's a 3.03. I did the math. 3.03.
I was close.
Yeah,
so you finished what, like a 3.97 or something?
Yeah, it drops almost a full run.
Yeah,
just by
because it was 20 runs in 2 games.
Yeah, in less than 6 innings.
Yeah, that'll blow up anyone's ERA for an entire season. Anyway, I still think there are question marks with Jesus Luzardo, with what we can see from him from the postseason. He's had 1 postseason start with the Marlins where we saw him up close. He was all right. I think it was 4 earned runs over, 4 innings. So not great, but at the same time, this is a different Jesus Luzardo with a new weapon in his sweeper, which was his best pitch this year. So I think there definitely are more question marks on the Phillies than there are the Dodgers, but it could ultimately even out depending on if these guys perform the way they did for most of the season. And we could be in for, all right, it depends who had 1 more home run, who had 1 extra hit in a clutch situation, who worked out a couple walks. It could come down to anything, but I do think you have to give the Dodgers a slight edge in the rotation.
And I think for me that edge comes in the floor to ceiling department. I think the Phillies floor and the Dodgers floor, I think the Phillies ceiling and the Dodgers ceiling is right at about the same place. I see Luzardo much more as the guy who had like a 3.03 than I do the guy who had a 3.92. I think I give Sanchez the edge over Yamamoto, and Suarez, of course, is one of the best postseason pitchers in baseball history. The guy has a 1.43 in 37 career innings over, his postseason career. I don't expect him to repeat that, but we do know that, his ceiling is sky high. The question comes, what if Ranger and what if Luzardo don't have their best stuff? And I think that the Phillies have a lot higher of a chance to have their starting pitching blow up in their face than the Dodgers do. You ask for the Phillies and Dodgers, 5, 6 starters. I think it's a different story. I give the Phillies the edge there, especially over the course of the season when half the Dodgers are injured. That said, during a short playoff series, I think it's a slight edge to the Dodgers, but I'm not, saying that they have the overwhelming superiority there.
Yeah, I think that it's really tough to argue against a 2-time Cy Young winner who's pitching as good as he ever has in Blake Snell. A guy who, if he chose to only pitch, would probably be the best pitcher in the world, just like he was the best hitter in the world when he didn't pitch last year in Shohei Ohtani. And Yamamoto, the aforementioned 3-time back-to-back-to-back MVP and Cy Young equivalent winner in Japan before coming over here and getting the most ridiculous contract I've ever seen from someone who's never stepped on a major league field before. So it's a little tough to bet against those guys. I do like what the Phillies have done. I do like that the 3 lefties that they have all stepped their game up as of late. Since the Zach Wheeler injury, they've all played pretty well. All 3 guys have a combined OPS under 700 against righties this season, which you would think going 3 lefties in a row, it might be tough to face them. I believe it's against Sanchez, Ohtani, Freeman, and Muncy went a combined 1 for 12 against Sanchez so far.
Sounds right to me. I know Ohtani
on
really
top of that, they're limiting damage against right-handers. To me, they're doing what they're supposed to do, getting left-handers out. And then on top of that, they are limiting the damage from right-handers. And all 3 guys are different, right? I think the concern was, are they getting the same look every time? Well, no, Sanchez is a different pitcher. He's more about that sinker changeup combo with his 4-seamer than Luzardo is. Luzardo's breaking pitch heavy, and he can hit 97, but he's breaking pitch heavy against both sides. He can hit 99,
especially in a postseason setting. Possibly.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you know that he has a shorter leash, why not? Right? We talked about that as a potential thing for him coming out of the bullpen. But if you tell him, hey, look, we have extra guys back there. You're only going 5. Let's ramp it up today. Maybe, and obviously you can revisit, but if he's going out there emptying the tank a little bit earlier, he can push 99 to 100 and really keep these guys off balance. And then on top of that, Ranger Suarez, not only do we talk about his postseason experience, he's pitched in multiple roles in the postseason. He knows what works, what doesn't. He makes mid-game adjustments very well, which not every pitcher can do. And he generates a lot of soft contact. So for me, I think it's closer than people realize when you look at the names. However, I'd still lean Alex and give a slight edge to the Dodgers when it comes to starting pitching, but they are neck and neck.
I do want to mention one possible X factor. I think the Dodgers are asking their starters to do something a little bit different that they've done the entirety of the rest of the season, in that, hey, we're going to lean on you. You have no leash. Go get them. Meanwhile, the Phillies the entire season have let their starting pitchers go out and battle and get to that 7th inning, get to that 8th inning, and on rare occasion, the 9th inning. Although usually Thompson, especially in the second half of the season, once they got Duran, pulled back on that. But it's something that the Phillies have done. Chris Sanchez threw over 200 innings this year. Luzardo threw the most innings that he's ever done in his entire Major League Baseball career. I'm pretty sure Ranger Suarez was right around his career high, if not just passing it. Yeah, so these are guys that have already been asked to do that and have done that. The Dodgers are asking these guys, all right, go out there. Yeah, we're not going to just have you face them 2 times, which I don't even know if that's what they'll do because it's the Dodgers. Sometimes they get funky with their decisions. They tried pulling Anthony Banda out as an opener in LA, and look how that ended up with Schwarber homering off of him. And didn't Harper go back-to-back as well?
I don't know if did they go back to. I know that they both made an impact. I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe it was like a double from Harper or something.
Who did Roberts pull with a 1-2 count the other day? And I that almost makes me want to have Major League Baseball implement a rule to ban removing a pitcher mid at bat unless it's an injury, because that's not baseball. That's ridiculous.
I mean, it does definitely set the batter at a disadvantage if you're at 2 strikes and be like, oh, we're bringing another pitcher. What do you mean another pitcher? I'm 2 strikes here.
Yeah, that's Bush League.
Didn't they respond by pinch hitting as well, or was that a different game?
Yeah, they brought in.
I was going to say,
hit.
Somebody.
I don't remember who.
What was the situation on that?
I
it was
gotta
like
look
two
it up.
runners on. I think like the tying run was like in the hole. It was 2 outs. I don't remember exactly. You know, it was 2 days ago whenever I watched, but I mean, it was an intense situation. Like they needed the outs there because as we've become accustomed to, the Dodgers bullpen gets a little bit leaky, and I think that's another thing to where the Phillies potentially have an advantage. I think the Phillies bullpen, at the bare minimum, has a much lower chance of blowing up than the Dodgers bullpen.
I'm going to be interested to see how they handle someone like Blake Snell in this series, because it's obvious to everyone that Kyle Schwarber hits lefties extremely well. And even Bryce Harper hits lefties fairly decently. So are you actually going to go with a lefty or keep Blake Snell in for those two lefties, or are they actually going to follow the numbers? And I think that's something Dave Roberts, is someone who's been a little bit more using the analytics and the numbers in front of him. I think there's going to be a little bit more there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the Dodgers are obvious. I mean, they're the most challenging. It doesn't matter, right? But they have shown a propensity to go to the bullpen, and really the league has. I think more than 50% now over the last 3 or 4 seasons of innings have come from bullpens in the postseason, and the Dodgers are not a team afraid of doing that. And Alec, I think that's something that I didn't even think about that you brought up earlier is, although all 3 guys and beyond are capable of letting it loose and going long, it's again something they haven't been asked to do all season, and the Phillies are used to that, right? The guys who are still healthy, they've done it all season long. Maybe Luzardo was the only guy who was pulled early on occasion, and he was given plenty of chances to go long as well.
He's thrown 8 innings in the new career high.
He's the National League leader in strikeouts. I mean, he really impressed when given that opportunity and when he was allowed to go. So I think that the one thing if the Dodgers starting pitchers do go long, it does help protect that bullpen a little bit, on top of the fact that they are comfortable putting their starting pitchers in the bullpen as well. So you'd likely to see Sheehan, you'd likely see Glasnow as well. Yeah, go ahead, Al.
I was going to say, I think there's pressure there. I think they know their bullpen is the weakness. Plus, you have guys that are doing something, again, that they've not been asked to do, like throwing Tyler Glasnow out of the bullpen, or Emmett Sheehan, or Roki Sasaki. I've been hearing is like, oh, they found a closer. He's a rookie. Does he have excellent stuff and could be an excellent pitcher and even a Hall of Fame pitcher? Sure. But if you don't think that a rookie you have to second guess bringing into a 1-game lead in Philadelphia out of the bullpen, it could work, but there are question marks, and there are more question marks coming from how the Dodgers are using their pitching staff than there are the Phillies. Mm-hmm. And when you let these question marks in, there's more pressure to cover said question marks, to answer the question marks. I just think that's a detriment to the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's that thing that I was bringing up where, like, I think the Dodgers are very capable of bringing a bullpen in after, someone pitches 5 innings and having that bullpen give up 6 runs. And I think that the Dodgers are, maybe because of Sasaki and guys like Glasnow and Sheehan, are more capable of shutting the Phillies down and allowing 0 runs. But I don't see, Tanner Banks, Matt Strahm, Kerkering, Duran, and Robertson coming into a game where they have to pitch 3 or 4 innings and giving up 4 runs. Could I see them giving up 1 or 2? Absolutely. It's the Dodgers. They're a good team, and these relievers are good, but aside from Duran, they're perhaps not entirely shut down guys. But I think that the Dodgers have a lot more blow up in them, and I think the players are aware of that, and both the Phillies and the Dodgers. And I think being cognizant of the Phillies being cognizant they can do that, and the Dodgers also being cognizant that, oh my God, we might have to start pressing once the bullpen comes in, is a potential inflection point for the series.
I think we also have a huge question of how are the Phillies going to deploy Walker Buehler? Mm-hmm. Because this is a guy they got because of his postseason pedigree, and he pitched well down the stretch, although there was definitely some luck to that, with, if you look into his stats, what the numbers actually were.
Yeah.
but luck itself is almost a baseball stat.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is there are two main sides to baseball, in my opinion. There's the mental side, and there's how lucky you are. As long as you're solidly mental and you are getting good luck, you're probably going to win a lot of games.
Mhm.
Of course, the base skill has to be there too. But beyond that, it's mental skill and luck.
And let me ask you guys something, because I really don't know the answer to this. Is Walker Buehler able to give the Phillies any insight into what's going on in the Dodgers clubhouse right now, how they should attack these hitters, what they should go after for the pitchers? Because he's been in that clubhouse for 7-8 years. He knows how they operate, and does he A, know well enough to tell the Phillies, and B, is he willing to tell the Phillies and sort of sell them out?
I'm sure that, if he has advice, he wants to win a World Series ring as much as the rest of these guys do. I'm sure of it. There's no doubt in my mind that he is going to contribute whatever he can to help this team win in the postseason. So if he does have, hey, this is the way these guys like to do things, hey, this is a thing when I was there, these kind of things are emphasized on, sure, it's possible. But that doesn't mean that doesn't change year to year. And that's going to be the big thing, is maybe they did that the year prior when he was there and helped them win a World Series, but maybe they made adjustments. And this is a game of adjustments. You cannot just latch on to one thing and hope that that thing is there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is like they will definitely share that information, right? It's just a matter of will it be relevant anymore, right? Like the scouting report on Bryson Stott 2 years ago is not the same as it is this year. So he'll give insight, and they should use that. But the big thing will be, doesn't matter, right? So they'll rely on this year's scouting report plus his notes, but it's not solidly like he's the difference maker in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Real quick, but before we do get into the bullpens, because we kind of were taken there anywhere, we do want to hop back over to the comments. King Cash, any update on if Will Smith is playing? So my understanding is that he's being brought in as an emergency, as the third catcher on the DS roster. They didn't want to put him on the IL. He'll more than likely be used as a pinch hitter and maybe to finish a game on occasion, but I believe they don't expect him to start any of the games unless something changes with his health and the series goes long.
Something to be mentioned, Ben Rortvedt has really stepped out for them recently. Mm-hmm. He had a huge hit in the wild card series. He's really good at handling the staff. He's a good defensive catcher as well. So don't write off Ben Rortvedt just because Will Smith isn't playing. I think that's a fallacy that we have to avoid, lest it bites the Phillies in the ass.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily you're right. You can't discount him just because he's not Will Smith. But there is a distinct difference between anybody and Will Smith basically this year, right? So you're right. You don't want to fall into the trap that anybody that's not Will Smith is an advantage, but and that's something natural that could happen. But I don't think that they're going to. I don't think they're going to take him lightly at all, or at least you hope not, right? So,
I'm frankly, I'm not going to go out there and be afraid of a guy who has a 190 career batting average, has been DFA'd like 4 times, and looks like Jamie Moyer when he hits. Have you seen the way he holds the bat on his shoulder? Yeah, it looks like a pitcher.
Nobody's scared of Kike Hernandez until the postseason comes around.
Oh,
yeah, weirder things have happened.
Kike Hernandez is a good baseball player. Like, I'm sure Ben Rortvedt is a solid defensive catcher, but I just cannot work myself up to be afraid of him at the plate.
I'm not saying be afraid of him. I'm just saying don't discount him.
I'm discounting Ben Rortvedt. Yeah. I am absolutely taking Ben Rortvedt.
I think that Ben is not in the clubhouse at the Phillies. Right?
Okay, don't take anybody lightly, of course. Each at-bat is important. But if I'm going to take one Dodgers player lightly, it's going to be Ben Rortvedt. He's not very good.
I'll let Ben beat me. You know what I'm saying? That's the guy I'll let beat me. Don't let Shohei beat me. Don't let Max Muncy beat me. I'll let Rortvedt beat me. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
another great comment from King Cash. Kike is a dog in the playoffs. You ever hear how he that big, what was it, the 3-homer game? You ever hear him interviewed talking about like how that like a big switch happened for him? I forget who he said. And sorry to sidetrack, but I love this story. He said somebody told him like, it doesn't matter how you play during the regular season. Big players come out in big moments. great players come out in great moments. And he was like, I just kind of told myself overnight, like, I'm going out there and I'm doing something. I'm going to make this series mine. I'm going to make this game mine. He said that he went to Dave Roberts and was like, I need to be in the lineup tomorrow. And he was like, okay. He said he even called his mom and was like, Mom, make sure you get to Aunt whoever's house on time, because first time I get up, and it was like second pitch of his first at bat in the second inning, he drills one. And he said the whole time as he's running around the base paths, all he's thinking is like, I hope my mom got there on time. He said, but like people in the clubhouse were like, what is going on with Kike today? He walked in cocky as hell, just like, I'm the man. I'm going to go yard. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. He's like, his wife thought it was weird because he was like talking trash at home. Like, yeah, I'm that dude. I'm going to go yard, which is like not him at all. But guys just come up in big moments. And totally he's one of them. So another layer to this for the
and
for the
there's one last thing, and I promise I'll never mention Ben Rortvet's name again. But here are the splits for this 2025 Dodgers team by catcher. So with Will Smith as the catcher this year, the Dodgers staff had a 4 ERA and opponents were hitting 240 against them with a 724 OPS. That's in 865 innings. Ben Rortvet, in 140 and a third innings, the team ERA drops to 2.89 with a 168 batting average and a 521 OPS. That OPS is 141 points lower than the next lowest catcher, with Dalton rushing behind the plate at a 662. So this pitching staff performs better with Ben Rortvet behind the plate. And that's what I'm saying the reason you can't discount Ben Rortvet is.
Small sample size.
It could be. It could be.
Oh, boy.
I take catcher ERA with about 570 grains of salt here. I just can't. Like, there's too many different pitchers. There's not enough innings. Like, you want to look at a guy's ability to frame the ball. You want to look at a guy's ability to block the ball or their pop time. Sure. I believe that catchers absolutely do have an impact on game calling and on pitchers, but 150 innings or however many it was is not going to convince me that Ben Rortvet is that much better than Will Smith. And for all we know, Will Smith had a down year and Ben Rortvet got lucky, or maybe he really is that much better. I just don't think that 150 innings can tell you that Ben Rortvet is that guy back there behind the plate.
This is what I was going to bring up when I saw it in the comments from King. A lot of injuries, especially early in the season. So they were pitching with a lot of AAA guys, a lot of quad A guys early in the season. That ERA is going to creep up a little bit naturally, regardless of how good you are. So
got to look at who's pitching to these catchers.
Correct. Yeah, but I don't want to get stuck too much on the Dodger catcher situation. Let's get into what we talked about. The bullpens, right? And on paper, a lot of Phillies fans excited about the bullpen, especially since possibly the best mid-season acquisition by any team, bringing in Jhoan Duran. Of course, David Robertson coming out of what could have been a potential retirement to join the Phillies for a third tenure. He's looked decent, had a little bit of a rough patch, or Ryan Kirkring a little bit of a rough patch. But the talk about the Dodgers, at least from the outside coming in, has been that their bullpen is a mess. They don't know who to go to. Tanner Scott hasn't been great. Kopech hasn't been great. They've had to use guys. Sasaki's pitched out of the bullpen since returning from the minors and from an injury. They've had to kind of mix and match a little bit and figure this thing out as they go. You know, whether it's Knack or Banda or Vesia. We talked about him already, and how, or was it Vesia or Diaz who came in and was the opener? You know, they've tried to mix. Banda was okay, but they've tried to do some mixing and matching, and their bullpen has been a problem at times. The problem with that for the Phillies is that, well, so has theirs, right? We talk about how good Ryan Kirkring was in the first half, but ever since the trade deadline, when it thought these guys might fall into a better role, Kirkring's ERA is 4.43. Robertson's ERA is 4.08. Lazar's ERA is 4.32. Now, Lazar you may not see, but you're talking about two regular contributors there, guys who you expect to pitch big innings for the Phillies, and they have ERAs over 4 since potentially being in a more comfortable position with knowing that they have a closer at the end of the at the end of the game. There have been some positives. Taijuan Walker's pitched well in September. Walker Buehler pitched really well in his one relief appearance. Lou Trevino has been a really nice addition to this bullpen. And Strahm has figured out some of his early season struggles and really turned it on in the second half of the season. That being said, the storyline for everybody is what are the Dodgers bullpen going to do? And I think that on paper, when you have Duran at the end, it almost doesn't matter who's struggling. If they can figure out mix and match play and pick and play and bridge away to Duran, whether it's 3 outs or up to 6 outs, the Phillies hold the advantage. But like Roddy Zod tells us right here, Duran has not been untouchable. And the Dodgers have done this. They did it last year. There was talks about their bullpen struggling despite all the names that they brought in, and they still figured out a way to get it done and win the World Series. So how are you guys feeling about the 2 bullpens at the moment, and who do you think has the advantage? Alec, I'll start with you.
So there was one name I don't think you brought up, and I think could be in for a huge matchup in this NLDS, and that's Tanner Banks. Tanner Banks has been excellent for the Phillies this year. And he, at some point, is probably going to face Shohei Ohtani out of the bullpen. Lefty on lefty. It's going to happen at some point. And I think you can't discount his contributions to this team because he's been pretty much a rock, especially in high leverage situations for the Phillies. When it's been like mop-up duty, that's when he's kind of had cracks. But he really bears down and really gets at it when it's time to shine. So I think Banks is really going to be a guy to watch out of the bullpen and how the Phillies decide to use him.
I like that. And he's been a guy who people have talked about all season. He really did change his perception during the season. Ben, what are your thoughts? Phillies bullpen, let's start there at the very least.
Just real quick on that Banks point, Alec. High leverage Tanner Banks, 475 opponent OPS, medium leverage 591, low leverage 712. So clearly the guy has the ability to shine when the lights are brightest. And for me, it's pretty clearly that the Phillies have a better bullpen. I'm not saying it's a huge margin, but much in the way that the Dodgers have a slight edge in starting pitching, I give the Phillies a slight edge in the bullpen department. I think a lot of that comes down just to the Dodgers bullpen, at least what they hope to be their big guys like Emmett Sheehan, Tyler Glasnow, and Roki Sasaki just being inexperienced pitching out of the pen. And in Sasaki's case, being very young and perhaps not ready for the bright lights of Citizens Bank Park. I think the Phillies, like I said, I think that there's a lot lower of a chance that they blow up in comparison to the Dodger pen. I don't foresee, Tanner Banks, Matt Strahm, and Yohan Duran going out there and giving up 4 runs, maybe 1 or 2. But I think that those guys they all have steady heartbeats. They've all been tested. I have a lot of faith in the Phillies bullpen to perform as they need to and to throw strikes. Only guy I am concerned with that, sort of volatility is Kerkering, who's definitely had some command struggles this year. And I was going to say about him, he struggles when the lights are brightest, but for what it's worth, he's got a 3.0 playoff ERA in 9 innings. It's not amazing, but he hasn't been awful out there. So I think it just comes down to, at a certain point, who gets lucky? Did the Phillies starting pitching have a little bit better luck than the Dodgers to eke past? Did the Dodgers bullpen have a little bit of luck to eke past the Phillies? Who the hell knows? We'll see on Saturday.
I think there's really 4 names that you have to watch when it comes to the Dodgers bullpen. It's their 3 lefties with Vesia, Bonda, and Dreyer. Mm-hmm. Dreyer had a 2.95 ERA. He was excellent this year.
Very good.
Vesia was honestly their best reliever. He had a 12.1 strikeout per 9 ratio on top of 3.02 ERA. Then Bonda's been good as well. And then I think it just comes down to Roki Sasaki. And I don't think there's much else to worry about. I know in one of our comments it mentions Blake Trinan, but the Phillies have handled Blake Trinan. And I don't think Clayton Kershaw is going to be a guy that comes in and does anything like that. I'm still not sold on the whole Roki Sasaki thing either. So I think if he gets rattled, he could lose control.
You're right.
There's a chance at that. If he gets a little rattled and he gets it and fans get in his head or whatever gets in his head.
That's the key, right? We know how good his stuff is, but he started the year with like a 4.80 ERA, They sent him down. He had the injury. That being said, against the Reds, he was dotting 100-mile-an-hour. He averaged 100 miles an hour on the fastball.
It's also the Reds.
He just let it go, man.
The Reds gave no reason
so
why he shouldn't have confidence coming out against them.
I almost wish we titled this episode differently, because in my mind, watching Sasaki played, I said, this is the secret ingredient that the Dodgers needed to get past the Phillies. Like Sasaki being at the back of the bullpen, potentially being able to go 2 innings and average 100 miles an hour. Like, that's the guy. That's the guy for them. I love Kershaw, and I think he'll be fine for them. Obviously, you love him as a player, legend going out. Hopefully not on top, but going out after this year. Man, just watching what Roki did. I know it's the Reds, but anybody who makes the playoffs is a playoff team. They may have scratched in, but the Phillies did and went to the World Series in 2022, man. That guy looked disgusting against the Reds.
But the Reds left like the bases loaded twice against the Dodgers. They were not coming through.
The Phillies are not good with the bases loaded all season long.
I don't care.
The Reds
I think
hitters
it's so different now.
The Reds hitters aren't halfway as good as the 2022 Phillies hitters.
I know. But the 2022 Phillies got no hit in the World Series, so
they did. They also hit 5 home runs the day before that as well.
I know. I was at that game. I was at the fun one.
I was at both of them. Unfortunately, it was awful.
I was at neither.
Man.
I had no money.
But yeah, man, it's like, you talk about the bullpens, and the one thing that I think is, so I talked about the Phillies bullpen kind of struggling a little bit. I think it was 28 out of the last 41 games of the season, the bullpen allowed 1 or more earned runs. Does 28 out of 41 doesn't sound like a lot, but that's only 13 of the last 41 games where your bullpen was shut the door and didn't allow an earned run.
Well, Kyle, I mean, 1 earned run.
There's a lot of blowouts. I'll say that, Ben. Sorry, go ahead. But
no, I was just gonna say I'm fine if the bullpen gives up 1. It's when they start to give up 2 or 3. Because most games you have to think the bullpen's pitching 3 innings. So 1 run over 3 innings is still an ERA of 3. And I guess you're saying earned runs. I was going to say something about runs, but that's a whole different conversation. I'm fine if the bullpen gives up 1 run.
Well, how do you guys think about this comment real quick, Alec, before you hop in with your take in general? Dodgers, because there's a big strikeout potential on the Phillies side, Dodgers, could they potentially get out of those situations against the Phillies because of their free swinging mentality?
Depending on what part of the lineup is coming up, possibly.
True.
But say you run into like a Bryson Stott who does not go down easily on strikes. Say he's the one going to grind out against you, and you start getting into an 8th, 9th, 10th pitch of an at-bat. Are you still going to have the same confidence in your location, the same ability to dot a fastball? Maybe there's a mistake. Maybe the walk, doubt comes in. I think anything's possible. But could Nick Castellanos come up and flail at 3 sliders outside? Sure. Could he easily has hit a mistake out of the yard? Yes, because that's Nick Castellanos. He is somewhere between God and dirt. We're just saying he's Nick Castellanos. He's good.
I don't want to see Castellanos face a single righty out of the bullpen in this.
No, he's been hitting better against righties than
probably
lefties.
Won't.
Yeah. I'm fine actually having him start a game versus a righty, but if it's one of the bullpen righties, he's got to be like gone. Put him on the bench.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be great against, like, say, a Roki Sasaki.
No, that would scare me a lot.
So I have a question for you guys, and it kind of relates to the bullpen, and I do want to make another point about the bullpen, but the Phillies have faced the least amount of fastballs this year that they've faced in a long time, especially their big sluggers. People like to throw off speed to them a lot. Do you think that the Phillies, because of the concerns in the Dodgers bullpen, do they need to be as patient as humanly possible early to get Shohei's pitch count way up to get into that bullpen early? Or do they need to be uber aggressive and try and jump on Shohei to force him out of the game? Because my worry is that if you allow him to get comfortable and he can shut out the noise in that stadium, that he's going to give you 6 strong against the lineup he just faced and just carved up. And then, you're left with the best of the best in the bullpen instead of getting to that pen early.
You cannot have the Phillies try to play outside of themselves. Play to what the team strengths are. Don't ask them to be something they're not. If it's Bryson Stott, sure, have him try to grind out an at-bat. If it's Kyle Schwarber, tell him hunt a fastball. See if you can get us on the board early. Bryce Harper, do what you want. You're Bryce Harper. It's the playoffs. We don't have to tell you what to do in the playoffs.
Right.
You do it pretty much every time. So, I don't think there should be any specific directive on how to handle Shohei besides make sure you get your prep in, see his fastball off of the high velocity machines, see the shape of his off-speed offerings, get familiar with what it's going to look like. Prepare yourself as best as possible and hope for the best results.
Right there with you, Alec. I don't think that this team needs to be communicating anything as a unit to the offense right now. If the guys want to be aggressive, let them be aggressive. If the guys want to try and, take a few pitches, let them take a few pitches. It's the playoffs. Do what you're best at, and, results follow.
King Cash asking, genuinely, are the Phillies naturally aggressive? I'd say the majority of the lineup is. Harper has a great eye, but he naturally is aggressive, gets in a lot of 0-2 counts. As a matter of fact, him and Nick Castellanos are both in the top 5 of 0-2 counts seen this season. One guy walks a lot out of those. The other guy is not. But Nick Castellanos is an aggressive hitter. You likely won't see him start tomorrow. Bohm is an aggressive hitter, but he's a contact guy. Kyle's a very patient hitter. Trey is more patient this year than he has been in the past.
Kepler has worked some good at
very patient. Kepler, he has the highest walk rate of his career this year. So really, I'd say that about half the lineup is, half the lineup isn't, King. And real quick, just to do a reset, appreciate we're an hour into the show. We may lose Ben shortly, but I want to keep things rolling here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. You're watching Philly Sports Network Alley Talk every single Friday. We'll likely increase the amount that we are here on your screens now that we're in the postseason, but our weekly show during the regular season, Fridays, 2 p.m. So appreciate everybody jumping in. The comments, we love getting on the comments. To me, I like having topics outlined, but honest to God, the conversation is what drives us. So love Roddy Zod, King Cash. Appreciate you guys hopping in the comments and keep them coming for anybody who just joined us. I see that the viewership has jumped up a little bit, as it typically
Kyle,
does near the first hours.
If you wouldn't mind, bring up that last comment about Trea Turner being healthy. Yes, Trey, T-R-E-A, for future reference. But I was at 3 of the last games in the last 6 games of the season, so every question, everyone was wondering, is Trea Turner going to be healthy? Is he going to start a game possibly? Is he going to get in here and play? And everything in that last Twins series, it was like, well, he's around 75% of his max speed. He's around 80%. And I think it's more, is he going to be able to be explosive? He's healthy and feeling good. The problem is he going to be able to mentally have that explosiveness that we've seen him on the base paths, whether that's going for a slide, going for extra bases, going for a steal, what have you. I think it's going to be a big mental part of the game. Is he 100% in it to be able to go 100%? Because at this point, from the end of the season, I'm sure last day, that Sunday, I would guess he was probably like 80, 85%.
Yeah, and so what he said prior, so I was there when he did the media availability. I think it was the last Marlins game or maybe the second to last Marlins game. He said for him, a really good sign would be if he gets activated before the season is over, because he said, I would like to test myself, but me and the trainers agreed I am not going to go out there unless I'm at 100%. And he was activated for that final game on Sunday. So to me, that means that he's 100%. And I think it was Taryn Hatcher, I believe, asked a really good question during that availability of like, what did you learn from the more severe hamstring injury that can help you rebound quicker? Because he was very hesitant when he recovered from that more severe one. He said, well, one, it's nowhere near as bad. He's like, I don't even really feel it, but that mental part is there. He's like, so I just learned mentally to understand that, like, if you're feeling good, the doctors are feeling good, you don't feel anything, then you can go, even if you have to build up to it. So he said that his approach in the week off will be a little bit different, just making sure that he's rounding bases hard, that he can move the way that he expects to. But he said for him, the number one sign that he's feeling great is if the trainers say that he's good to go on that Sunday. And I didn't see any hesitancy from him on that Sunday. So to me, based on what he said and based on him being activated, I'd say he's healthy. And then to add in the second comment from King Cash. How has the defense been on the season? Incredible. The best defensive season he's had in a Phillies uniform, maybe the best
above
ever.
average in all of Major League Baseball.
Is he
16 outs above average? He was like the best defender on the Phillies maybe this year.
Is it him or Mookie?
What?
I mean, it's probably
about
Mookie's incredible.
Well, for who wins the Gold Glove at shortstop this year?
I mean, Trea Turner
for all we
was
know, right?
excellent. He really was excellent. I'm sure he'll be a finalist, honestly.
I mean, if he's not a finalist, then there's a problem, because in that case, it's
well, we've been saying that about Ranger Suarez for how long?
Well, okay. With Ranger, it's a technicality, which is more stupid. Man, it makes the award just as fraudulent. But Trey
I can't say that. I work for Rolling Sporting Goods. I plead the
fifth. Yeah, can you escalate that or something, Alec?
There honestly is probably a person or two I could reach out to and be like, hey,
let's change the what is it, the criteria? Wow, I really couldn't think of that word.
To get back to the bullpen before we move on to the lineups, because we haven't even gotten to the lineups. We've been on for over an hour. We appreciate all the love and support, guys. We haven't even gotten to these lineups yet. I know we talked about the names. We haven't done a deep dive. But two last things on the bullpen for me, and feel free to jump in where you want, guys. So one thing that I saw on the Athletics roundup was over the last two regular seasons, Matt Strahm, who's probably the best lefty in the Phillies bullpen, he's pitched against the Dodgers 7 times and allowed only 4 of the 23 batters he's faced to reach base. Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, and Max Muncy are a combined 1 for 7 with a single against Strahm. He's had reverse splits for the last 2 seasons, but the Phillies will obviously want Strahm on Ohtani and Freeman late as many games as possible. They'll take the potential Strahm versus Mookie bets at bat in the middle to deal with those 2 tough lefties. And I think that that's going to be huge. He's held those guys in check. And if he can continue to do so, he's pitching his best ball right now. He was a guy who about midway through the season had an ERA over 4. He's pitched to let me look. I actually have it up. Hold on one second. He's pitched to a 2.25 since August 1st. So he's been incredible. I think it's even better in the last month. So he's been really good. And I think that could be a difference maker for them. Obviously, we talked about Tanner Banks. We talked about the righties, but I think we can't ignore the fact that Matt Strahm is like the elder statesman out there. He's like the captain of the bullpen, and he's been on fire as of late.
Yeah. How about how far that guy has come? Who remembers him starting
I remember
out of the rotation in 2023?
Yep.
The first 6-7 games of the year, he was the 5th starter.
I remember.
He's the guy in the bullpen that, other than Duran, of course, that I trust most right now. I have all the faith in the world in Matt Strahm to come in a big spot and shut those guys down.
I agree. There's no one that I would trust more outside of Duran at the moment. Strahm's done it. He's been one of the best left-handed relievers in all of baseball, I would say. Has he had his moments where, especially earlier in the season, when things just weren't going as right with his stuff and his best stuff wasn't there? Sure. But I think when you put dollars to donuts, this is the guy that is able to get right-handers out too. So, if there is 2 lefties and a righty, and even a righty after that, I think he's a guy that you can tab to be like, yeah, you're a setup man. It's your inning, unless two guys get on, bases loaded, whatever. But he's a guy I trust, and he's certainly in Rob Thompson's circle of trust.
Yeah, I think it's that bridge to Duran is pretty clear when you have Strahm there. It just who comes before him. Yeah, I know.
The one thing that I wanted to talk about with the bullpens, and I think that this to me is the difference maker. So I've tried to do deep dives into numbers. How can we really talk about it in a different way other than just saying the Dodgers bullpen has struggled? So the Dodgers bullpen on the season has the second most. Their bullpen has the second most at bats, right? So as a pitcher, the second most at bats. They've seen a ton of innings. Meanwhile, the Phillies are dead last in that category. The only bullpen that didn't have 2,000 at bats against them in the league was the Phillies, because of how strong their starting pitching was. The only team to have more at bats out of their bullpen was the White Sox than the Dodgers. The Dodgers. But obviously the rest of their numbers are going to be pretty high, right? The 81 home runs against their bullpen, that is tied for 6th in all of baseball. The big one for me was their Where is it? Where is it? Sorry, guys. Trying to get this. They are the fourth worst team in fly ball percentage out of the bullpen. So when they get teams out, it is via the fly ball. And we know that there's a lot of home run hitters on this Phillies team, especially from the left side. If their lefties cannot figure out ways to strike out the Phillies hitters, I would see a lot of those fly balls turning into home runs with the power that these guys have. So for me, the amount of innings that their bullpen has been taxed on the season, the amount of fly balls that they surrender as a unit, to me, that screams advantage Phillies, regardless of what you think about the players in each of those bullpens. What are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, CBP can definitely turn into a bandbox if you're hitting a lot of fly balls, especially to those right and left field corners. I'm not going to say it's the smallest stadium in the park in the major leagues to right and left field, but I believe it's in the top 5, especially with that the former like scoreboard wall and in that left field power alley too.
Gonna say I don't have too many thoughts on this. I'm kind of
Okay.
looking in through a couple of things for when we inevitably actually talk about the Dodgers lineup, because we still have not talked about the Dodgers lineup.
That's fine. So let's get into the lineups then. I'm going to start Philly so you can continue your Dodgers research there, Alec. But we know most of what's going to happen. Trea Turner only just being activated. He will lead things off. They will have Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber to follow. 4-hole, undetermined. My assumption will be Alec Boehm, maybe followed by JT, Brandon Marsh, and then likely Harrison Bader, Max Kepler, Bryson Stott with the righty on the mound. So you have a lot of lefties in that lineup to start the game against Shohei Ohtani. Excuse me. And we know what Shohei can do. Like we said just a few weeks ago, 5 innings of no-hit ball against the Phillies. Impressive outing. He continued to build strength and build up his repertoire. 6 pitches from the guy, probably 9 if you talk about variants, just like Darvish and a few others. And he has a plethora of other pitchers that can help him navigate despite only facing the Phillies one time. The lineup, though, the lineup's been hot with Trea, without Trea, with Bryce, without Bryce, with Kyle, without Kyle, Nick being part of a platoon and a full outfield rotation. These guys are firing on all cylinders right now. And the Dodgers, regardless of how good their starting pitching is, they're going to have to be near perfect to take care of this hot Phillies lineup.
Yeah, I do think that the Phillies lineup is sort of better than it looks on paper. I actually have a lot of faith in Max Kepler, actually. I know that he got hot there for a month in August and then cooled off a little bit at the end. But for whatever reason, I have a vision of him hitting a big home run late in a ball game to give the Phillies a lead. I think that he is a really interesting X factor off the bench for the Phillies. I think that, having a guy from the left side with power who can work an at bat and who has, been in the bigs for 11 years, it gives the Phillies a sort of versatility that they didn't have last year or the year before. And not that Kepler's been great, but he reminds me a lot of a skinny Matt Stairs.
So
Okay.
from what I've seen from this Phillies lineup is, I think you got to acknowledge what Bryson Stott and Alec Boehm did down the stretch. I mean, I'm pretty sure Boehm hit around 310 since I think it was August 1st he's hit around 310. And that's not including how hot he ended the season coming back from his injury. Bryson Stott posted like an 880 OPS since August 1st. And I'm using that because the trade deadline was definitely a pivot point in the season for the Phillies. There are guys performing much better than they were last season or the season before at the plate. And then you look at a guy like Harrison Bader, who's going to be starting in center field. You don't even have to think about Johan Rojas out there with a bat. So this lineup has gotten so much deeper just based on changes these guys have made themselves and the addition of Harrison Bader.
You said it, 880 OPS for Bryson Stott since August 1st, 899 for Brandon Marsh, a 925 for from Trea Turner, Schwarber in 870, Edmundo Sosa in 849 OPS.
You didn't even think to mention Brandon Marsh, and he's been a revelation since hitting
Yeah.
095 to start the season.
And
095, and he finished the season hitting over 280.
And with Bohm as well. Sorry. Like, please keep going.
Listen, this guy is somebody that we traded for Logan O'Hoppe, which was everyone was like, oh, we blew that trade. Oh, I wish we had Logan O'Hoppe back. No, guess what? Kevin Long identified something in his swing, and they fixed it. And there was also great things that Brandon Marsh said about Garrett Stubbs help him get his mind right when he went to AAA, and it's the mental part of the game.
Yep.
One of the dumbest quotes everybody ever thinks of in baseball history is Yogi Berra saying that baseball is 90% mental and the other half is physical. Guess what? It actually is. He was right. It's hilarious when you think of it from a math standpoint because it's so dumb. But at the same point, it's one of the most perfectly ways to wrap up baseball in one quote. Because if you have the right mindset, you're confident in yourself, you're not overthinking things, you're just going up there and doing what you know you can do. You do things like Brandon Marsh, and you end up hitting 280 for your season after starting with an 0.95 batting average.
Impressive stuff. Ben, I know we're right around the time where you said you had to get out of here. Give us your final thoughts before you leave us, and Alec and I continue this show.
So one last nugget to make you feel a little bit better about Bohm, who's likely going to be hitting cleanup. I doubt it'll be Bader, but who the hell knows, really. Since coming back off the injured list on September 19th, he played 9 games, 9-game hit streak, 2 home runs, 17 hits. He slashed 459, 475, 703. And I know 9-game small sample size, 455 BABIP, but the guy's seeing the ball right now, and he's not striking out. And, you know, they got to avoid the ground ball double plays. That's the number one thing. But if Bohm can avoid, you know, pulling the ball on the ground, I think that, you know, the team might be able to get some big things out of their cleanup spot for once in the playoffs.
Good shout. And Bohm is a guy who has always in his career had a propensity to hit with runners in scoring position, something that the Phillies greatly missed while he was hurt earlier this season. Mm-hmm. Ben, can't thank you enough for your time on the show, man. Thanks for coming back. We will obviously talk internally about when the next episode will be, if we're going to do one in between series, if we're going to do one before they go out to LA. We'll talk about it. And if we can have you back out, we'd love to have you, Ben. Appreciate the love, appreciate the work, and we'll talk soon, all right?
Thanks for all your thoughts, Ben.
Excited to talk to you guys again soon. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ben Silver with us on the line. Now, Alec, we can continue to talk about the lineup. You know, we've been talking about how good they've been. You know, we talked about the lineup construction, but on the other side of the field, you have some absolute legends in that dugout. How are we feeling about the Dodgers?
So I want to get to the Dodgers side in just a second, but
all right.
Based off of one thing Ben said, hitting into double plays for Alec Bohm, I think one of the big X factors in this series is going to have to be JT Realmuto. JT Realmuto, when he's not going well, has the propensity to pull the ball to the shortstop, and a lot of times that turns into a double play. Although, you know, his legs beat out some of them, which is good to see. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a big part of this. If JT can contribute offensively in this series, that further deepens the lineup and deepens the threat against the Dodgers. Now, we can go to the Dodgers side. I think you have to ignore what the Dodgers did against the Reds. I know that sounds a little short-sighted, but I think you have to ignore it. Okay. This was a Reds team that I don't think was ready for the spotlight, that ended up getting their teeth kicked in a little bit, even though they had opportunities. They really had opportunities. If you watch these games, they were one big hit or two from making these games save situations, making them close. And if they don't cough up as many runs, a couple, that turns things around. Now, that's a lot of what-ifism. But what I'm saying is that you cannot be afraid from what the Dodgers did to the Reds in 2 games. I think that small sample size is more narrow-sighted than anything about what they've done during the season, what they did late during the season. I know there have been a couple of comments about that Mookie Betts has been great down the stretch. in his last 15 games when they were still playing for possibly getting a bye or securing the division, he only hit 241.
Okay, well, King Cash, you heard him. You heard him.
So,
241.
yes, he turned things around from his absolutely horrid start to the season, but that doesn't mean you need to. He's still Mookie Betts. Don't get me wrong, he's still Mookie Betts. So I'm not saying write him off, but don't go based off the 600 batting average against the Reds in 2 games. The same thing with a guy like Teoscar Hernandez, who had a miserable season, I think, until about June, and then turned things on a bit. But down the stretch, those last 15 games after they faced the Rockies, that's why I'm choosing this, because the Rockies are a joke of a team, he hit about 275. He was solid. But I still don't see the guy that scares you. And the Phillies have handled Shohei Ohtani. When they've actually faced him as a hitter, they've kept him fairly quiet. None of his hits have been super impactful against them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they have handled him well.
I do think there's a chance the Phillies can handle this Dodgers lineup, but it is a lot of good names in this lineup, top to bottom. I think a guy that could be interesting in this series is a guy they added the deadline, Alex Call from the Washington Nationals. You know, while it doesn't look like much, him hitting 247 with a 717 OPS for the Dodgers, put that in replace of like Michael Conforto, who had a $199 this year. So that's going to change a little bit, and it just helps their lineup get a little bit deeper. I know the one commenting Andy Pages. He was really good, and I have seen him have a little bit of the swing and miss, so maybe that's something the Phillies are able to exploit. Freddie Freeman's Freddie Freeman. He's a Hall of Famer in my book, and he should be a Hall of Famer in pretty much anyone else's. Tommy Edman. We'll see.
He was a hero last year.
Yeah,
we'll see
that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying we'll see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is a tough team. Like we've been saying this entire show, this is probably the toughest test the Phillies have to face in all of the playoffs. Like any other team you put them up against, you don't have to go unit by unit, man by man, by everything to compare them. But the Dodgers, they're tough. So,
yeah. Yes. Tough is the right word. I'm not laughing at your take. I just
that's all you can do when you see a team
they're
like
so
this.
Good.
Going into the season, everyone's just like, oh, they're a cheat code. They have all this money that they were able to spend. They got this, that, and the other thing. But the Phillies have handled the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Both in LA and in Philly the past few seasons.
And I mean, if
what am I supposed to be
means anything to anybody, they've handled the Dodgers well in the postseason as well. So.
What am I supposed to be looking at that's scaring me? That's not just, well, yeah, they just beat up those Reds. Oh yeah, they got Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, everybody knows these things. They happened. They have Shohei, who is a baseball god. Like anything he touches on a baseball field turns to gold.
He's the greatest player we've ever seen. I mean,
he is.
No doubt about it.
He is our Barry Bonds. I never really saw Barry Bonds play because in 2007, I was 11 years old and only really just getting into baseball. So I never watched Barry Bonds.
Yeah, he's our Barry Bonds plus like Pedro Martinez.
He's Mike Trout.
He's incredible.
Incredible. Yeah, basically almost a Pedro.
He didn't pitch last season, so he said, let me F around and steal 50 back.
Yeah, let me go 50-50.
It's just incredible.
50,
oh, man.
50.
But I think you're right. There's no surprise here. Outside of the one thing that I said, like if Sasaki looks really good in the pen, that's the surprise. That's the big difference. But to me, the Phillies have guys who are going to, Walker Buehler's going to go in the pen for them. Nobody thought they were going to have him a couple weeks ago, right? He's a guy who can go out of the pen and did one appearance, but he did really well for the Dodgers in the pen last season. Did really well. He has a great postseason track record. He's a guy who raises his game when the lights are brightest. Yeah, I would say that overall, probably because of the way that this team has evolved on offense this year, I'd say I'd give if if you want to talk about two traditional terms, I'd give the contact advantage to the Phillies. I think that they are going to get more singles, doubles, moving runners a lot. The power advantage goes to the Dodgers. Yes, they have Mookie and Freddie who can do both, but Shohei's just a power guy, doubles homers as much as possible, especially the way he's playing right now. Max Muncy is a big power guy. I think that their secondary pieces, you get a little bit more contact out of guys like Sosa, Stott, Bohm, maybe that you don't see on the other side. And obviously the way that Trea's playing, setting the tone. If he can play the way he's played all season without any limitations, he's going to set the tone for the top of that lineup from Jump Street.
This Dodgers team can definitely pop a home run. And that's going to be the big thing, right? Is do they outslug the Phillies enough that's that? They have this lead. They've secured everything, killed momentum, crowds out of it, yada, yada, yada. They had 244 home runs on the season. I think the Phillies hit around 210.
It's pretty good.
They have Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Andy Pages, Teoscar Hernandez, Shohei Ohtani, all with over 20 home runs. Oh, and guess what? Max Muncy only played 100 games and hit 19. So they really have 6 guys in the lineup with over 20 home run power. Will Smith played 110 games with 17 home runs. He has 20 home run power. These guys can pop a home run. So it's going to be a big battle for the Phillies being able to shut down the power. That's going to be the big battle of this series. And guess what? They actually do have a great pitcher on the mound for game 1 to combat that. Chris Sanchez. Would you like to guess what his home run rate was this year? I'm talking about home runs per 9 innings.
Tell the people. Let them know.
Half a home run per 9 innings.
Hey, there you go.
0.5, and he's done that 2 years in a row.
Limit the damage.
He limits power. He gave up 12 home runs all season. 12 home runs in 32 starts. So
pretty good.
Yeah. Chris Sanchez is the guy that can stop the power. The Dodgers are going to have to try to manufacture runs against Chris Sanchez, so good luck. If they can do that, that's their path to victory. But if the Phillies shut off the power, they work out a run or two, I think they can take this game 1, and that's going to set them up to win this series. So Chris Sanchez is the guy built to beat the Dodgers.
I think you're right. I think he's pitched extremely well all season. Like I said, it's going to finish second in Cy Young this year, no doubt about it. I'm interested about your thoughts on this take from Cash. If Dodgers win game 1, they probably start Glasnow for game 2, despite the fact that Snell would be on regular rest. What are your thoughts? Maybe they do that just to extend themselves and give them a little bit of extra rest. But I'm saying
it's no secret
if you're on the rest, let's bury this team before we get to LA if we have a chance.
It's no secret that teams have stacked lefties against the Phillies this season. So if they can get 2 starts out of Snell, would they need 2 starts out of Snell if this game goes 5?
Probably not. No, they'd probably go.
But still, if you can get Snell going game 2 to shut the Phillies down in their home ballpark, and even if you lost game 1, steal 1 in Citizens Bank Park going to LA, that's huge. That's huge. And you want to give your team the best chance to do so. So what I'm saying is I think they'd have to go Snell in the game 2, just based on everything else the Phillies have done in the regular season against lefties.
Yeah, but you did talk about it, right? They've handled Shohei well. The starting pitchers, all lefties, they should all be able to attack him in a different way because you have 3 different styles. But Mookie Betts has started to look like himself this past month, had 4 hits in the clincher against the Reds. Yes, it's the Reds, but everybody talked about how good their pitching was. And he is feeling like himself. He's another guy who can turn it up a notch. And he looks like he'll likely be the X factor for the Dodgers. On the other hand, you and I talked on this very program a few weeks ago about people saying, oh, it's a down year for Bryce Harper. What's going on with Bryce Harper? Well, at the end of the day, Bryce Harper is Bryce freaking Harper still. Maybe by his standard, an average season. His .487 slug percentage, lowest in a season since 2016. However, he's hit 325, 444, 709 over the last 3 postseasons. They didn't need him to be Bryce Harper during the regular season. They needed him healthy and ready to go for right now. And to me, he looks like that guy. He's going to be the X factor for the Phillies this series.
He always is. I even look at the Mets series last year. He was the only guy really hitting. I think Castellanos was doing all right too, but no, everybody else disappeared. Bryce Harper was the only one. So he is a guy that can carry you through the postseason. But guess what? The Phillies have a batting champion. The Phillies have a home run champion. They have an outfield that actually hits now.
The team triple crown, right?
Before.
Didn't Schwarber lead in RBIs too?
He led in RBIs as well.
Team triple crown. Pretty rare, actually. But.
Yeah, a very cool thing that the Phillies did this year. So they have a really good, balanced offense for the first time, I would say, heading into the postseason.
Definitely. Let's take a look here. I love this. First off, Cash, to me, it seems like you're a Dodger fan, or at least rooting for them in this, but your questions are awesome. So please keep them coming. You've been you're not hating the show. We hate in this show. We love the game.
We're discussing ball. Everybody's welcome.
We love the game. Everybody's welcome, regardless of who you root for, unless you root for the Mets.
As long as you're not being a wingnut McSpazatron on the team you're trying to root for and being a homer that blinds you. No, feel free to comment away and join in the conversation.
Great questions from King all show. Who are the Phillies' bottom 3 hitters, and do you trust them to set up the top of the lineup? I would say I do. The bottom of your lineup is likely going to be probably Bryson Stott hitting 9, maybe
JT 7.
Marsh hitting 8. JT.
I don't know. I think
7.
Marsh is higher.
Well, so that okay. Let's talk about it real
Marsh
quick.
Is 6.
We know who the top 4 are going to be, right? So it's Trey, Kyle, Bryce, Alec. That's my assumption for the first 4.
Yep, I'm batting 4th.
Alec Costival batting 4th. No, Alec Boehm hitting 4th. 5th, I don't know if they go another lefty right there, so they may go JT 5 and then Marsh 6. Do you think
JT 5 would be a mistake?
So who goes 5 then? Kepler or Marsh?
I'd say Marsh. I put Marsh at 5.
Who? I'd have to take a look. Do you know who hit the what the lineup was in the final game?
I would have to look again.
Yeah, let me take a look. I'll try and find it. I don't want to.
But I would say, I'd say Marsh 5. Just again, he was honestly your 3rd best hitter down the stretch.
Yeah.
So
he was
put
really,
him 5.
really good.
And you don't have to really worry about like Schwarber, Harper, Boehm, Marsh being 3 out of 4 lefties in a row, because guess what? Schwarber kills lefties and Harper handles them fine. Yeah. So I don't think that's a big issue. I think Marsh has to be your 5 guy.
So he did hit 5 in that final game. Now, Bader did not play. They had.
So Bader would be 6.
So Marsh started in center that game. He'll start in left in game 1. So he'll be 5. Probably Bader 6, I would think. And then what you go.
Would you stagger it?
Kepler, JT Stott?
Kepler, is that JT Stott? Yeah. I think that sounds right.
JT hitting 8th. He carried them for a little while, but it's not a negative. It's just they've been so.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't. I really, it's a classic. Listen, it's almost a classic way of setting up a lineup. A lot of times, your catcher batted 8th.
Yeah.
A lot of times in history, that's how things fell with the pitcher hitting 9. But guess what? I think that's where JT is at this age of his career. Like, we saw him part of the season really heat up and be a key part of the offense, which was great. But I think if you can have a more balanced offense and have him batting 8th and not worrying about rolling into a double play after the middle part of the lineup, just set everything up, I think is so much better of a strength. And then you finish things off with Stott that can roll things over to Turner and really cause havoc at the end of the lineup. I think there's a lot of good things the Phillies could do, but I think this is an obvious choice of how to set things up here.
So his July and August were really strong. He hit 354 in July with an 881 OPS, a 763 OPS in August. He fell off a bit during September, and I don't know if that was taking the foot off the gas a little bit.
And
I think that this comment from Cash JT maybe would hit 6. The only reason we're putting Bader up there, Cash, is he's been absolutely on fire. Outside of like the first 10 games when he came over, he struggled a little bit, and once he settled
think about
in,
Marsh.
He was on fire. He did end up leading off when Trea was out, King, for your knowledge. So, but he's obviously not going to do that with Trea back in the lineup.
So think about Marsh. Think if in the playoff series he leads off an inning, let's just go hypothetical here, and lines a single or double, just gets on base. I feel like there's going to be some juice coming to the plate with Bader, and I take him as a guy who feeds off that energy. He is an energy guy himself, and feels like he feeds off of it. So I want him 6. I think he's the right guy to keep things rolling. Go to Kepler, who could grind out and bat at, keep things going. And then JT could come up with guys with the bases loaded or guys on first and second and third, whatever. But
I don't hate it. It's just a little surprising because he was hitting
Bader is meant more for the moment to be the 6-hitter.
I agree with you. I'm not saying that him batting 8th is insane. I'm just like trying to reimagine the season, and I'm like, dude, JT was hitting 4 like last month. Like what? That would be insane for him.
He was on fire in July,
necessity, right? He wasn't the prototypical 4-hitter. It was 4 out of necessity because they didn't have anybody. So it's
even into August, he was really hitting well.
Yeah,
but he did kind of cool down, and you just have to worry at his age. Is he slowing down because of the grind of the season? He's a catcher. He plays every game at catcher. He plays more at catcher than anybody else. And this was a season where you're like, well, could they wind it back? Could Marchand see some more at-bats? Could JT, get a little bit more rest to be ready? No, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. The dude still played as much as he wanted. He played and played because that's what he wants, which is awesome. It's great. I mean, Castellanos has the same mindset. He just lets it loose a little bit differently. And that's why sometimes he gets in trouble. But you have to wonder, has the season worn on him? I think the time off has been great for JT. So, again, I still think 8th is the best spot for him in this lineup for the postseason. But could he come through? Could he be great? Built for the moment? Sure. Why not? We saw game 1 of the 2022 World Series. Game on the line, Dodgers walk Harper. Who you want up?
So obviously it would be Bohm by our discussion earlier.
It would be Alex Bohm.
He's leading off the inning, and they're like, we're not going to deal with him. Walk him. Who do you want your next 3 guys to be? So here's the one thing I'll say, Cash, is unfortunately for how good we've said that they've been hitting, it's Bohm and JT both have a propensity to ground into a double play. So if you're walking Harper, I almost don't want those 2 up in the inning, right? I want to limit my chances for 2, and I'd probably go Bohm is going to hit 4, but I'd probably, if you're outlining it specifically like this, I'd probably say Bader for that reason. JT and it does a lot of rolling over to the shortstop.
Pinch hit. The Phillies are going to probably carry both Otto Kemp and Weston Wilson.
True, it depends on who's up, right?
You have it's a lefty, 2 solid righties off the bench.
Yeah, you're right.
I think it completely depends. If you're facing somebody who's high velocity, I wouldn't trust Kemp. Just because I'm sure eventually he can handle the high velocity and catch up to it and be a solid hitter against it. But for right now, would you go Weston Wilson over Brandon Marsh with the lefty?
I don't know. Oh man, I like Brandon Marsh so much. I love the idea,
and he's been better against lefties the last part of the season too.
Whatever Thompson's been doing, it's been working, right? He's been hitting.
That's true. Is the answer just trust Topper?
I even said in my family chat with my brother and my dad, I was like, there's just something about Nick Castellanos that I want to see him in that lineup on Saturday. And I know that it's a disadvantage right on right, and they've been going with him against lefties, but over the last month, he's hitting like 100 points higher over the last 2 months, he's hitting like 100 points higher against righties than he is lefties. Over the last month, his batting average is a little bit higher against lefties, but his slug is way better against righties. I almost feel like he's a guy who's built for the moment. If Shohei wants to get ahead of him, he's going to drill that first pitch. But I don't think you're going to see him in the lineup, right? So my my feeling doesn't matter. I think he's not going to be in the lineup, but he's a guy who could come off the bench. He's had some solid pinch hits in the second half of the season, coming off that bench as he gets more comfortable in that platoon or rotation role. So I don't know. Roddy Zod brings up a great point. It's been an issue that they've had over the last 4 seasons. Who hits behind Bryce Harper? I almost think the best scenario would have been if it were Trey, Bryce, Kyle, but you haven't done that all season. You're not going to suddenly do it.
No, not at all. But for Snell in game 2, Edmundo Sosa has to start, right?
Oh, I'm assuming he will, right? I don't care how good
he was so
Bryson
good
Stott has been. I think Edmundo Sosa. Now this was after the 3-homer game. He had if he qualified, he would have the 4th best OPS against lefties in Major League Baseball.
You have to start that good,
and you lose nothing defensively. That's the big thing for me. It's not like when
I think Stott's a
Marsh in center and
better.
so. It's like when Marsh is in center and Kepler's in left and Nick is in right versus Bader in center, Marsh in left and Kepler in right. Like that's a huge difference defensively. You lose absolutely nothing going from Bryson Stott to Edmundo Sosa at second.
Yeah,
base.
I'm not a fan of like Stott's Sosa's defense at third base, but second or short, I think he's.
Yeah, I don't know why that third seems to have been a problem for him. But
Longer throws,
he looks
I'd assume.
Silky smooth up the middle for sure.
And you got a lot of quick plays trying to field the ball, on like bleeders up the line, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that could be it. I think I like Boehm as a better third baseman than Edmundo Sosa.
Yeah, I mean he's been really good.
He's been solid.
Trey will be leading off, so you're going to have him setting the tone at the top. I think that he puts the ball in play a lot better across the entire field this year than he has in years past. So I think that if you can get the bottom of that lineup up, it'll be huge. And the Phillies specifically have had way more opportunities with runners in scoring position out of the leadoff spot than they have the 3-hole over the last 2 seasons. So I think Trey being a
big thing you have to watch out with Trey is does he have his timing down? Is he comfortable against the fastball in the box? I think that's going to be the big question mark going into this because of the big layoff. I know he's come back, and it is Trea Turner. He's one of the most professional hitters in the league. He should be able to handle whatever. But I think it's definitely something to watch.
Yeah, I mean it's something to watch for any team that has that layoff. It's can you come in ready to go? Can you come in prepared? Can you come in and be used to 100 mile an hour plus a 76 mile an hour curveball next to it, right? And on top of that, every player will tell you like it doesn't matter what we do during the week because the game is the game. The game is different, and you don't know how prepared you are until you step in that box and you see it in a live environment, right? So they said they're going to try different things than they had last year. I think the bye being an issue is very overblown because look at what the Dodgers did last season, look what the Yankees did. So I think that I think the bye is a little overblown. It's a matter of being focused and not getting outside of yourself, as you said earlier, Alec. You want to make sure that you're staying within yourself, staying within the messaging of the team, staying within what everybody needs to do. So we kind of talked a little bit, Alec, about, we finally got to the lineup in hour 2. We finally got there. We talked about the bullpens. I'd say there's a slight advantage the Phillies' direction, but the starting pitchers and how effective they are is going to make the biggest difference. I think I'd give a slight edge to the Dodgers starters in a 3-man rotation. Not that the Phillies are anything to sneeze at. That's probably the closest of the two. And again, the lineup, it's do you like power? Power? Do you like contact and speed? If you like contact and speed, I like the Phillies lineup. If you like power, I like the Dodgers lineup. They both have a little bit of everything, but I'd have to give power a bit of an advantage to the Dodgers, contact and speed a little bit of advantage to the Phillies. And I think come postseason, you need that a little bit more. Obviously, you need somebody who can deliver the dagger in the big moments, and they have plenty of people who can do that, even if they're not the traditional power hitters. We talked about Edman. We talked about Kike Hernandez. But Phillies are playing a little bit of a different brand of baseball. It's cool to see the fan base, at least in my opinion, and I'm not glued to Twitter all the time, but I feel like the fan base went all season long complaining like, they're going to get the bye. Same thing's going to happen. 3 seasons in a row, they couldn't hit when it mattered most in a big moment. And I feel like the last week happened. They secured that bye late in the season. It never felt like they took the foot off the gas pedal. And all of a sudden the fan base is starting to believe again. And I don't know if it's just because it's October. I don't know if it's because they sold more tickets to a practice than the Guardians sold to a playoff game. I don't know what it is, but it seems like there's been a shift in the last 2 weeks where all of a sudden we have a lot of believers out there getting ready for Red October.
So going off to what you're saying, that the Phillies got the bye late and it felt like they kept playing.
Yeah.
Like they weren't, resting guys. They weren't punting on games. They didn't give up at the end. I want to give some credit to that to Kyle Schwarber's home run chase, because that felt like part of it. That helped lock the team in, not just because it was, one guy going for something, but it was a team kind of cheering on their captain to be like, hey, yeah, you're going for it. It's something to watch every night. Something that was kept going till the end of the season. Did he reach the record? No, he was too shy. But that's not the point. I think that chase actually helped the rest of the team lock in. And that's why you didn't see the limp to the finish line that you saw in 2024. I mean, there were other reasons for that as well.
Yeah,
but
it's almost like a quasi 2024, Alec. Apologies for cutting up, but like last year they got out to such a hot start and basically played 500 ball for like 3 months. This is the opposite. Their June wasn't what you would normally expect. They had a solid start. They kind of faltered a little bit May, June into July, and then they really picked it up after the deadline. Those two guys that they got, plus David Robertson, a huge, huge deadline for Dave Dombrowski and his legacy here among fans, at least in Philadelphia. I think that it's almost the opposite of last year, and I think the fans are starting to feel that. Sorry to cut you off, Alec. If you had one more point, I was a little overzealous and jumped in the middle of your point there.
No, you're all right. So I wrote about this a little bit just yesterday, actually. And I was writing what makes this 2025 Phillies team different than the other iterations of this team that have made the playoffs in the last few years.
Tell the people about it. Over on PhillySportsNetwork.com.
Over on PhillySportsNetwork.com, Metro Philly. This team was just more consistent. Like they never got too ahead of themselves. They never played out of their minds. They never, like I wrote this, phrased it like this. They never fell into quicksand with no way out.
I like that line.
Were consistent pretty much the entirety of the season. Their best win streak was 9 games. Their worst losing streak was 5 games. I'm pretty sure they only had a few 3-game losing streaks too. Like, they played well the majority of the season. But guess what? That came down to the team performing overall better too. Yes, of course, they won 96 games, which people don't understand is the 6th most in Phillies history. This team hasn't had many seasons like this. But so they had their highest team batting average and highest team on base percentage since the 2010 season. Their hitters struck out 26 fewer times than any other Phillies team in this postseason stretch. On the pitching side, they had a 3.79 ERA, which was the lowest team ERA since 2011. Although that team posted a 3.02.
So that was a stud rotation.
Yeah.
Stud bullpen.
And then, talk about strikeout stuff and how the Dodgers have strikeout stuff. The Phillies team's strikeout rate was 9.08 Ks per 9. And guess what? That's the second highest mark in all of Philadelphia Phillies history, only behind 2021 at a 9.14 mark. They made the least amount of errors in franchise history, although that does have to deal a little bit with MLB official scoring changing a bit.
So many times there were you just hear people go, that's not an error. That's not an error. And then you hear, that has to be an error, excuse me.
There were 4 teams that finished with less errors than the Phillies, and the Phillies finished with the fewest amount of errors in team history. So, whatever that means, But the defense has been different. Like, the eye test for the defense has been different. Everybody says giving up on the eye test. Nobody trusts their gut anymore. If you watch this team, they're better defensively. Bader in center field. Martian left. Kepler and Wright is actually a pretty solid defensive outfield. Trea Turner, like we mentioned earlier, is definitely going to be a Gold Glove finalist. He could win the damn thing. He was 10th in outs above average. He had a positive D-WAR. Like, I think he has second highest D-WAR of his career. He posted a positive defensive run save for his first time in Philadelphia. He's done everything well, and I think these changes he's made are things that can stick. He's worked relentlessly hard on this, and it showed. Bohm, the last how many years, has worked on his defense, and it's paid off. He is now an average to above average third baseman. Maybe just average. I'm getting ahead of myself. Alec to Alec. But they have a Gold Glove potential guy at second base.
Bryce Harper's solid at first.
Harper's solid at first. JT's behind the plate. He's won Gold Gloves. This team has a really solid defense. And none of these teams before this team had a defense like this.
Yeah, man, it's talk about the consistency. They set a franchise record for series wins in a season this year.
Yes, they did.
They won more series than the year that they won 102 games in 2011.
And more than the season that they won 101.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they've played a different brand of baseball all season long, and I think that it's adding to the excitement. Cousin Nicky hopping in the comments. Nick, Red October is here. I cannot believe I'm as confident in Christopher Sanchez as I am.
Because he's been that good.
He's been that
2.5 ERA,
good.
200 innings.
He took when Wheeler walked
strikeouts.
When Wheeler walked away with his health situation, Chris Sanchez, outside of that first start, took the ball and ran with it. And Cole Hamels, I had the opportunity to talk to Cole Hamels after the Zach Wheeler news broke. And he said specifically, like, watch Chris Sanchez the rest of the year because he is going to be the leader of a rotation at some point in his life. And this is going to be the test run for him. He gets to prove it to everybody. And hopefully, because we didn't know what the standings were going to be at the time, hopefully on the biggest stage. And he has done exactly that. Now the biggest stage is here. Can he continue to do what he did? I have all the faith in the world in him, Nick. And so don't think you're crazy for having that much
I
faith
can't believe the Phillies
in
have him for, another 7 seasons?
This is like their Braves deal. They finally signed
their Braves deal.
Yeah, right.
They got a Braves deal. And nobody talks about it. Nobody. Chris Sanchez's agent basically committed malpractice because he wanted to cash out on a payday of Chris Sanchez performing well. And guess what? The Phillies got a great deal. A great deal on a guy that could be a top 5 pitcher in the league for the next 5 years.
Yeah, he has. They have team control under until 2030. 2 club options in the last 2 years.
Club
guaranteed
options.
through age 31 at 2028.
Club options. Not mutual, not
Correct.
player, club.
Correct. One other thing that we talked about the loss of Zach Wheeler. One other thing that Hamels really emphasized to me, I asked him, like, what was it like? Because he was on the team, obviously in 2020 and 2010 and 2011, when they had great performances from Roy Halladay, but then Roy Halladay went through his injuries before ultimately having to retire from the game. And I asked Cole, like, what was the obviously it's not a benefit for him not being on the mound, but what were the benefits that he provided to the team, right? What could he do? What can Zach do now that he's not on the mound? And he said it gives him the ability to help more players at once because he doesn't have to focus on himself. And we all know that Wheeler is one of 1 or 2 best pitchers in all of baseball when he's on. And to be able to share that knowledge with 8 guys instead of 1 or 2, I think could be a huge difference maker. He's going to be a guy who's involved in those scouting report conversations. He's probably going to be involved in starting pitcher meetings and bullpen meetings and meetings with catchers and meetings with pitching coaches. He is a guy who now gets to spread his wealth of knowledge to more guys at once because he's not distracted by his own need to prepare his own body. Is that the difference maker? No. Obviously, you'd rather have him on the mound if he was 100% healthy. But being able to have a guy who's in the Cy Young conversation every single year, who's pitched amazing in October, to share his knowledge and look over the shoulder of guys who maybe don't have as much experience as him, but have gone through the same trials and tribulations as he has in the regular season. I think that's going to help a ton and could potentially be a difference maker for this Phillies pitching staff.
So if Zach Wheeler were healthy, if he was completely healthy and pitching for the Phillies in this postseason, the Phillies would have been far and away the favorites to win the World Series.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely would have.
You'd have two guys
been.
who are going to finish in the top 3 in Cy Young if he stays healthy.
You would have had a legitimate argument of like, all right, who the hell are we throwing out there, especially in an NLDS? Like I was saying for a while, I was fighting. Okay, I think Luzardo would be pretty good out of the bullpen.
Me too.
But then also, what's the argument? Do you start Wheeler game 1? Or do you put him at game 2 with the lefty splitting him up?
I mean, you probably would have went Wheeler game 1 because he's earned
you probably
it.
do.
Sanchez,
I'm getting ahead of myself there.
And hell, you may even have gone Luzardo game 3 because Ranger has done the swingman thing before.
All I'm saying is this team would have been, nothing to worry about, strongest team, favorited. But now they actually have to play through something with Zach Wheeler not being there. And I think this team does kind of get a little bit of fuel when they have to have a little bit of perseverance. But having Wheeler would have been crazy. Who do you think?
So I was going to say, guys, so real quick, we just a reset. Thank you guys so much for watching Philly Sports Network, Alley Talk. Myself, Alec Costable, on with you. I appreciate Ben's input earlier. We are going to wrap up in a couple minutes. Alec will be right back, apparently. But King hopping in with a great question that we had not considered. Who do you think has the advantage coaching-wise? I'm going to never mind. There you are. Who's going to have the advantage coaching-wise? And that's an interesting question. I think that it's easy to say the Dodgers have the advantage coaching-wise because of their history. He's won 2 World Series. They've been there, done that. But Alec, it looks like you're ready with a note. So go ahead and give us what you got on this question.
So the coaching advantage is really funny because every time that we're in the press box, the Phillies prepare these great packets of game notes. Their team is excellent with it. Some really fun things in here, about guys approaching milestones, how the team is doing from a historical standpoint, different things that you really wouldn't see otherwise. They do a great job on these. But the one thing that is always on these is what Rob Thomson is doing and who he is being compared to, which is really funny. So, Rob Thomson is only the 4th manager in history to reach the postseason each of the first full seasons to begin a managerial career. Thomson joins Dave Roberts, Aaron Boone, and Mike Matheny as the only manager to do so. And then also, since his first game as manager on 6/3/22, Thomson has the Phillies tied 2nd in wins, 344 with Atlanta, and 3rd in winning percentage among MLB, behind only LAD, 365 wins, and a 614 winning percentage in Atlanta. His 579 career winning percentage ranks 1st in the Phillies history and 20th all-time among MLB managers, and 3rd among active managers, behind only Roberts and Boone. So every single time I'm in the press box, I'm reading how Topper gets compared to Dave Roberts. I think these 2 managers are probably the 2 most similar managers in Major League Baseball. I do think so. I think Roberts has a little bit more of a tendency to go out on a limb and try something that's a little bit out there, especially with his pitching staff.
Yeah.
We've seen that before. And, they worked through having 2.5 starting pitchers for the postseason last year. Somehow they won a World Series. Sometimes Roberts does that, but sometimes he overthinks as well. But I don't think it's that different from what Topper does. And Topper's pressed all the right buttons this year, which everybody has seen. Like, it seems like the outfield rotation worked out perfectly. playing to everyone's strengths and managing a lot of personalities to get this team to where it needs
That's
to
the
be.
key. Yeah. He navigated through some inside turbulence around that, and they still came out better for it.
Remember in June, Castellanos was like benched after he broke a record for most games started in a row since Pete Rose.
Yeah, for comments towards the manager. And
because he was taken out for defense.
Yep. And it still has managed to be this good for this long. So to me, that's the sign of a great manager. I don't know about drama in LA, but to me, I think you can almost say that it's null. And then if you want to give LA a slight advantage because they have 2 World Series,
I can't say any much else about LA's coaching staff. I couldn't say that I know who their pitching coach and hitting coach are, but I will say the Phillies pitching coach Caleb Cotham has been excellent since they've added him to the staff. Kevin Long has been pretty good as well, and just hitting coaches are one of the most volatile jobs in all of baseball, as actually Kevin Long said himself, if you listen to the Phillies show with Todd Zalecki, Jim Salisbury, and Morrow Jr., they had him on as an interview guest just a few days ago, and he talked a little bit about that, because it always feels like the team's going bad, hitting coach is the first to blame.
Yeah, right.
If the team's going good, the hitting coach usually doesn't get mentioned.
Yeah.
So he has done well. Again, this is the team that's had its best on base and batting average numbers since 2010. So that's a pretty good team that they're going up against, historically wise, for the Phillies.
The Dodgers hitting coaches I'm not too familiar with. Their pitching coach is Mark Pryor, who's pretty incredible.
Oh yeah, I forgot they hired Mark Pryor.
So ultimately, I think if you're asking me to pin one down, I'd say slight advantage Dodgers on the coaching staff, but it's slight, just like the slight advantage in the starting rotation goes to the Dodgers. I'd say Phillies advantage bullpen, and then Phillies advantage contact and speed. Dodgers advantage power in the lineup. Guys, we've talked for 2 hours. Longest episode since the trade deadline episode. Appreciate all the love in the comments, the attentiveness from Cash and Rowdyzade in the comments, the entire show. Thanks for cousin Nikki hopping in. Thanks to Ben earlier. Alec, before we get out of here, we don't know when we're going to be on again. There's a chance we don't get on until the NLCS matchup is ready to go. Give us your quick predictions on the series. How long does it go? Who's the winner? Who's advancing?
If the Phillies win game 1, they win. If they lose game 1, I think they lose the series. I think game 1 is that pivotal. Now,
traditionally it is pivotal, but I think in this matchup specifically, I think you're right.
If they lose game 1, I think it goes 5 games. They lose in 5. If they win game 1, I think they win in 4.
I have them winning in 4 as well, but I think it's going to be the toughest. I mean, 5 would make sense to me. It's going to be the most exciting matchup, that's for sure. Star-studded.
I do have a quick note that I just got an email on. Wednesday, October 15th is when Gold Glove Award finalists are going to be announced.
Okay. All right. So we'll see. We'll see who ends up in there.
That should be fairly breaking, as that's I work for Rawlings. So
there you go. Well, we are going to see what happens this weekend. Tomorrow night for our team, I will be in the box on Saturday. Appreciate you being flexible with your schedule there, Alec, by the way. Appreciate that a lot. Appreciate Sean Nestor as well. Make sure you give at Sean_Nestor a follow. Make sure you give at Costaville on base a follow. Myself at Kyle Fisher 45 a follow. Oh, and of course, the main account at Philadelphia SN at Philly Sports Net, depending on your social media choice.
Hey, Kyle, do you have game 1 then?
Yes, I do, sir. Game 1 tomorrow night.
I'll be at game 2 Monday night.
There you go.
So follow
there it is. Game 2
coverage
for Alec. Yes, sir. I'll be there in attendance. So I'll be rooting you on as well as watching the game up close. But make sure you give Alec a follow for that. Little Eagles game in between should be fun. However, that's not what we're here to talk about. We live and die Phillies baseball here on Alley Talk. Hopefully, we will talk to you quite a few more times, because that will mean that the Phillies have won and they are advancing. Keep it locked in on all of our socials. Again, appreciate the comments. Appreciate you guys tuning in and being ever so attentive. We love the comments. We love the people. We love ball. That's what we're here to talk about, our love of the game. So, Alec, appreciate you. I'm taking Phillies in 4. You're taking whoever wins game 1, it sounds like. So
yeah. So either Phillies in 4 or Dodgers in 5, depending on what
Appreciate
happens in game 1.
All right. Well, that means that my coverage will be ever more important according to Alex's prediction tomorrow. So make sure you give us a follow, give Philly Sportsnet a follow. Appreciate the love and the comments and the interactions. That's what this stream is all about. And we will talk to you guys maybe multiple times next week. At the very least, we'll be back here next Friday on Alley Talk. Appreciate it. And we will talk to you guys next week.
See you.